आपण मैंने कल्पना करि पारुचंते 50 दशक इटाली रे गोटे झील गोटे रक्षणशील परिवार झील जार बापा जड़े राजनेता जड़े प्रकाशक एवं जड़े शिक्षक जी चाहती जे तांकर झील गोटे धार्मिक भावना नहीं जाऊ गोटे कैथोलिक भावना सहित गोटे धार्मिक भावना नहीं झील तांकर बड़ हो नैतिकतार आधार नहीं बड़ हो किंतु झील भितर आउ गोटे विप्लवी नहीं अच्छे जी चाहूँगी जे कौन सी सीमा भितर से रहा इटाली गोटे छोटिया सहर रु जन्म नहीं झीटी आस्ते आस्ते बैले शिखुची थिएटर को आसुची दर्शन पढ़ुची दर्शन रे पीएचडी करुची तापर हठात दिने कहूँ से इंडिया पड़े एवं केमती आसुची फ्लाइट नहीं आसुनी गोटे स्थल पथरे केतेबेले ट्रेन रे केतेबेले टैक्सी रे केतेबेले ट्रक रे केतेबेले बस रे चढ़ीकरी इटली रु फ्रांस फ्रांस रु इस्तानबुल टर्की टर्की रु अफगानिस्तान काबुल हेराट बाट देकरी काबुल रे पहुंची काबुल रु आसिकरी पहुंची पाकिस्तान रा पेशावर सेठू आसिकरी पहुंची भारत रे भारत रे केरल को जाउची केरल रे कथकली नाच देखिकरी ताकू लागुची अरे ये तो गोटे चमत्कार नाच या सिखा जाई परिबा तापर केरल रे मन भरी जाउची सेठी के जण कहू गोटे ओडिसी बोली नाच अछि से जाए झीटी जानी ओडिसी कौन ओडिशा ओडिशा रे सेते बड़ प्रख्यात नृत्यांगना संयुक्ता पाणिग्राही घरे पहुंची संयुक्ता पाणिग्राही पाखे किसी दिन नाच शिखुची तापर सेठी कही जणे कागज रे लेखिक दउची तमें गुरु केलुचरण महापात्र पाखु जा गुरु केलुचरण महापात्र सेते दिन धरिक गोटे कागज रे चीट हेकरी अछंती पुणी 2 वर्ष पर झीटी पुणी फेरुची जाऊँगी कटक धूली धूसरित रास्त गाड़ी मोटर नाई पहुँचुची गुरु केलुचरण महापात्र घरे झीर वेशभूषा देखिकी गुरुमा लक्ष्मीप्रिया महापात्र चित्कार कर आइल माँ चंडी से चंडी झीटी बेले बेले गुरु केलुचरण महापात्र घर आगे बीड़ी टाणुची किंतु नाच शिखुची से जो यात्रा गोटे छोटिया सहर गोटे छोटिया गाँ भाया सहर इटाली रु आज जो यात्रा पद्मश्री इलियाना चितारिस्ति ना सितारिस ए जो यात्रा से यात्रा विषय आज कथा मो सागर अच्छा इलियाना इलियाना को व्यक्तिगत भाव तो मुझे जानी गत 20-25 वर्ष धरिकी एटलिस्ट आई नो ता भितर इलियाना मु बही पढ़ी आपण आत्मजीवन and how you the dita janmar katha you are speaking about 2 birth your biological birth in Italy and then your second birth in 1979 in Cuttack. So how do you define these 2 births?
Basically माने हम जेते बेले गोटे नुआ कल्चर आसिग्री नुआ माने डांस शिखिग्री माने नुआ लैंग्वेज शिखिबो डांस शिखिकी माने नुआ केमते चलीबा पाए केमते ड्रेस करिबा पाए केमते कथा करिबा पाए केमते जेस्चर करिबा पाए ए सब तो नुआ आउतरे शिखिग्री माने सेटा गोटे सेकंड जन्म मु भाबुछी तापरे आउ गोटे कथा जेते बेले आस्तिली कटक रे मते कटक रे पूरा मन लागितेला जो मोरो ग्रैंडमदर विलेज माने as if it was 20 years or 30 years before in Vilongo in Italy. So there where my childhood was the most happy days I spent. So Cuttack re mu se dimension mote mano korutela. So it was like a second childhood. And here of course second childhood together with all the rest which I was learning new and this atmosphere in which everything the small things were valuable. Like in my childhood in Vilongo, we were playing the playing with my friends. So we were playing as if we were making a shop and selling things and small bottle with a little bit of oil, small beer cut with a little bit of sugar and this. Then we go to the shop and buy in small quantity. So here in Qatar was the same. The people who are going to buy things in a small bottle, they will bring a little bit of oil. ମାନେ କୋଉଠି ଇଟାଲୀରେ କଣ ଏମିତି ହେଇଯିବ ସେଟା ତ ଗୋଟେ ଲିଟର ନ କରିକି ହବନି ଏଠି କିନ୍ତୁ ଛୋଟ ଛୋଟ ଜିନିଷ ଏଭ୍ରି ସ୍ମଲ୍ ଥିଙ୍ଗସ୍ ହ୍ୟାଜ୍ ଏ ଭ୍ୟାଲ୍ୟୁ ତାପରେ ଏଠି ସବୁ ଘରେ ତ ଖୋଲା ଥିଲା ମାନେ in Katakre there was no door close.
Every door was open.
It was open. Not only to me, it was like this. Everybody could go anywhere at any time without informing, without calling, without asking. Are Ajito Betiba at this time, all this paraphernalia. There was nothing of that type. So for me, it was like okay, new acceptance of a new ambience and to be surrounded by everybody, and everybody was so much proud that I was going to somebody's house and get a glass of milk, and they could offer me something. They will ask me what you are. Then I will ask for milk because I was.
That generous hospitality was there in 70s in Cuttack.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that sense is still there in Cuttack.
Cuttack is still that.
Yeah. Cuttack is a very special place for me. I will always tell every time that Cuttack is a special place. Nowadays, this kind of feeling and this kind of way, you will not find it so easily. So even now.
Okay, let me start from the beginning. You are talking up to your father in this book. Now it is translated in Odia also. Gotiye Jiban, Duiti Janama. And in English it is My Journey. So I read it in English. So Odia mu padi nahi parunda. But you are talking about your father, who was a very strict religious person, very orthodox religious person. He was a teacher, he was a publisher, and he is also a politician. He was also a politician. So how you imagine your father from here now? How you evaluate your father? I know there are so many grudges, complaints about your parents.
Well, I regret not to have not to have been a little more affectionate towards him, to show my affection, my gratitude. This is something which at that point it was always a fight. We were very similar in character, so we were so very stubborn and so very greedy, very stubborn, so we were always arguing. So there was no chance to them to, later on. I mean, after all, if I am here today, it is also because what my parents have allowed me to be, and I fought for that. But also economically, financially, I didn't have to struggle. So
they supported you. Despite their disapproval, they supported.
They supported means, in the beginning, for example, when I came, I didn't ask them the money. I came with whatever little money I had saved. But then after 1 year that I was here, 1.5 years, they came, and then my father gave me a Luna.
Luna, yeah. That Luna riding girl in Cuttack.
Yeah. Then when I built this house, he helped. That was much later. But I did not ask him economical, but I knew in the back of my mind, in any case, that I was not totally, even if I didn't ask, but I was not totally exposed to financial problem. So that security somehow it was there. Even if I didn't want to, even now, that they are no more, and they have left us, my mom, to me and my brother, certain amounts and all these things. I don't use those money. I live with whatever
you earn.
But it is there. I mean, it's not as if you are totally without anything in the world. So if I want to do something in charity and all these things, I can do it because I'm not exposed to the problem. So that kind of security is there. Then, of course, the values which they have given, I utilize it in my own way, in a sense that like the precision, they go deep into the things, the kind of commitment to so those kind of value I can see it in my mother and my father. But what they wanted from me, what my father had in mind, that it didn't happen. But then finally, it was very interesting when we fought and fought and fought. And then finally, when there was somebody who wanted, I think Arun Kapoor or something, he wanted to, we had decided to do a film on my life.
Mm-hmm.
So we wrote, so he came to Italy and I showed to him whatever my past, whatever all the relics that were there in my past, of my past. And we wrote a synopsis type. And then I asked, because at that point I was already performing, and at that point my parents were helping for
Mm-hmm.
getting little bit of contact. So we are asking, I was asking my father who could support the production of this film. So he went through the script and he said, "My God, you did so much in your life." He asked me.
Okay.
So it was a revelation to him because we never talk frankly. I always did things, but always fighting with him. We never had a talk like this positively and from beginning to end and what happened.
A strict father and a rebel daughter.
Rebel daughter. But then at that point, there was a sort of he was proud. I mean, you did so much. Of course, already he had started to see my dance. So that is like the first time he came. It was December 1980. After 1 year, I was here. So January 81. So we went to Konarak and I didn't have yet my costume and all those things. I asked to a friend of mine to the ornaments and costume. And he was there waiting patiently while I was doing my makeup. And I was thinking, my God, I never thought that this would happen. That my father, he would be there waiting for me to make to do the makeup and to dress up, because up to now he never valued all these things which I was choosing,
Yeah.
theater and all this thing. So he thought that I would do an academic career, and I was good in my studies also, or I would take up his the publishing book house that he had to sell it at a certain point, because none of me and my brother and my sister continued that. So at that point, I said, "Oh God, he's there really patiently. He has time for it, because he never had time for us during the. He was always so much busy for all his jobs. So he's waiting for me to do that. So that from that time onward, then also when I went back to Italy, he was helping me to get some contacts, to watching the performances. He appreciated. My mother, he appreciated a lot, but even my father. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a big change in. But that, of course, it came after I finally found my form of expression. So while I was searching for it, that this fighting with him was always there.
Okay. In your childhood, you learned a little bit of ballet, then you did a little bit of theater, and you were studying, you had philosophy, then you did some research on mandala
Yeah.
things. Then how all of a sudden you decided to come to India, that too by road? How, what was the inspiration? What was that? Why that? Why that? What can we say? How dare you? And how you dare to do that at that time?
Yeah, it was 1974.
1974. Yeah.
See, that was the time in which it was in the. I mean, I was a EP,
Okay. You were a hippie. Yeah. Yeah.
but not an EP in a very. Those many of my friends also finish in a bad way, because hippie means also getting the wrong direction and wrong drugs and go addicted and all these things. I'm not a person who get addicted so to anything, but I am a person who like to experiment. So I wanted to experiment everything, to experience everything. So so that time it was I was doing theater. So that also was because in the Teatro Tascabile di Bergamo, it was a Tascabile means pocket theater, but it
Mm.
was a theater of professional people.
It's like little theater in India.
Yeah, it's called the Little Theater. It's like the Little Theater, but then it was a professional theater. So they took me as a school. There was a school of acting, and I just enrolled myself. But then after half year, they needed some women yeah,
Correct.
actress. So they enrolled me. So I was not even ready. I didn't even finish my training and all this thing. So there I got in touch with these professional actors they were from Milano, which is a big city near Bergamo.
Milano.
And I was on that way. Then on the same way, I was also following my interest in philosophy psychoanalysis, and Carl Gustav Jung. Jung is after Freud, Sigmund Freud. Carl Gustav Jung is the most
The
important
great famous psychologist.
psychoanalyst, and he opened the road to us towards the East, because all his analysis and all these things of these archetypes. Archetypes means those common symbols, which are there in all the religion. Especially, he was very open towards, but Freud was not open towards the Eastern culture, and not even Freud. Even when I went to my professor in Milano, where 3 years I was in the Milano University in philosophy. So I was doing anthropology, story of the unions. I was in the Communist Party, so I was more in that kind of sociological. And so when I became interested in Eastern philosophy, this professor told me, there is no philosophy in the East. What you want to do? So that was the mentality, that very much strongly Western center things. So I had to shift my university to Venice, because my
coming to Spain.
In Venice.
Venice,
because in Venice, which is a little more open towards the East, in a sense, there was a faculty of Sanskrit, Hindi language. So there it was more open to the Eastern thoughts. So there I did all my last examination in my, which was still 11 there. All the on the ancient Taoism, on the ancient Chinese philosophy. Then I did all the subjects which I had discovered through Jung. So I presented these subjects half on their own historical way, and half through the lens of Jung psychoanalysis. So Jung had his own way of interpreting this symbology. So this quaternity, the triangle, the circle, the number 3, the number 4. So which are common to this. So the conscious and unconscious, and the collective unconscious, and what it represents. So I was doing both. I was studying them in the context of their own culture, and through the lens of the Jungian psychoanalysis. So my thesis was on that, and it was quite rare at that point, because that I did it in 75. So it was. So at that point, why you are asking me why I went?
How you came out from Venice and to intrude in the path which is completely unknown to you?
Because this was already my interest in my studies. Plus, that point there was all this literature, Jack Kerouac, Herman Hesse, on the road, that Siddhartha, all this the trip, that was called the trip, the experience which you do.
Hesse is always, a fascinating writer who created an impression of India.
Yeah, Herman Hesse was for us like a guide. Kerouac also. All those were the writers who had already did this pilgrimage. It was like a pilgrimage to India.
Both Kerouac and Hesse both have that fascination for East and Eastern ideology.
For us, it was a pilgrimage to go to India. And India means not only Indian itself, but also the road, the travel, the journey was supposed to be in a way that you don't organize it. You just put yourself on the road.
You flow it.
You flow with it. So every day is opening a new horizon. You don't know what is going to happen, what you are finding. So there was no booking. Nothing was booked before leaving. I just had the Orient Express, which came from Paris. I just got it into Milano, and through Venice, continue up to Kabul. So that was the Orient. No, sorry, to Istanbul. So that
Istanbul to Herat to Kabul.
Istanbul to Kabul, I went to the private van, which I found there. I mean, when I reached Istanbul, I just waited and I saw one Renault with written, we searched for co-passengers. So I waited, 2 boys came, $40 we took from Istanbul to Kabul.
Kabul.
And from Kabul then went back. They went back and I took to Peshawar. I took a bus, normal bus. The Kabul is
From Afghanistan to Pakistan.
Pakistan. Then to Peshawar. And Peshawar to Amritsar I went by train.
Okay.
So this is 1 month. 1 month.
But what there are no visa restriction, no.
I remember that in Iran, Iraq, we had to wait maybe for 1 day to have the entry visa to somewhere, Iran, Iraq. But I had the visa for India, and on the way it was just an entry visa, which it was before the invasion of the Russia to Afghanistan, before the Iran-Iraq war. So the borders were quite friendly and open, and
That was a revelation to me. Even generation of this generation, they cannot even imagine that the border was so free that one can really travel by road from Istanbul to Herat, and from Herat to Kabul, then to Peshawar, and Peshawar to Amritsar.
Yeah, you can't imagine.
cannot
You can't
imagine.
imagine. No. It is for me also now. It is difficult to realize that what fortune we had. Everything became difficult after few years. These things could not be done. After the invasion of Russia to Afghanistan and all this Taliban and all this thing problem, the road was not free anymore. Then you should have come by flight.
Right.
So the second time I came, first time I wanted to experience like this. Some of my friends had already come. They had already come back. They were telling me, "Don't do that, don't do that." They had already. So when I left, I was a little, but I wanted to go alone. That was my main thing. I wanted to do this experience alone and put myself. So my parents were crying when I left because God knows.
It's a completely new world, and
Yeah, a new
they
world.
also didn't know anything.
But I was also a little bit afraid. I mean, what will happen? But then, especially with these two boys, French boys, when I went with them in this van, and they were used to travel. They were just buying old furniture in Afghanistan, in Kabul, and selling it in Paris. So they had gone up and down many times. So every morning we were sleeping in the very often we were sleeping in the van without they knew where to stop and where not to stop. So you wake up in the morning, the horizon was expanding like in the desert. I never saw the desert, and the desert is really the expansion is very wide,
That vastness.
vast, and so that traveling continues like this. It all the fear went away, and I got really into the trip, into the.
But when you arrived in India, you went to Kerala.
No. When I came by road, Kerala was not there. When I came by road, after Amritsar, I went to Ganji because I had studied a little
Oh,
bit of
yeah.
Tibetan.
You went to Tibetan.
Yeah,
You met Dalai Lama.
Dalai Lama. Yeah. Then from there I came.
You went back to Kathmandu for some time.
Kathmandu for 2 months. There also again like a hippie. There was nothing else.
You lost your passport, everything, your money, everything is
I
lost.
was there like this, and but everything was solved, whatever. And then from there, I remember when I came back from Kathmandu, I decided to go to Ayole, Badami and Ayole, because I had read in the only exams which I had done on Indian art. I was remembering Badami and Ayole. So I went back down to Karnataka, then Goa. Goa was a must. And then I built the hut there and all these things in Anjuna Beach. So now when I go with my students, I tell, see, your teacher, where she was here, almost naked on Anjuna Beach. And then I went back. So when I went back, there was nothing related to dance in the first trip.
So
That was
in your
75.
first trip, you were not interested for
Dance. No,
You did not want to
No,
learn.
I was not.
In your second trip, you went to Kerala, and
Second trip, I went directly to Kerala to learn Kathakali because in the meantime, 3 years had gone. I came back in 75, and when I went to Kerala was 78.
so but happening this coming to Odissi is an accident.
Absolutely
Completely not planned.
No, because I didn't know about Odissi. I had seen a Kathakali because at that point, that group with which I was working, that Teatro Tascabile, they've split it. So the senior actors they joined in Milano, but I was not interested in join that group in Milano. So I continued my study in Venice. So then I got into the theater, which was the third theater, Grotowski and Eugenio Barba and all these things. So in that third theater was the poor theater, the Teatro Povero, Jerzy Grotowski. So in that year, I did some workshop, some stage, we were calling that, not workshop, with the one actor of Grotowski, some actor with Barba, Bread and Puppet. They were coming, Bread and Puppet from America, to build the mask, to learn how to go on stilt and all this in road, the street theater. So, so in those years, so we were. It was more a physical type of theater. So, so at that point, we were. So then I put up my own group, a small group. But I didn't have a proper direction, and we were just improvising. I was giving certain theme, and we were just improvising on the top of the tree, or projecting our body on the shadow, and whatever, and or shouting.
So during that time, Barba had a connection with Sangeeta Panigrahi, or it was lighter?
That time it was almost going to happen. So the first time it was in when actually when see how it went. It was when we are coming now slowly to 78. When I saw the first workshop, or first program of Krishna Nambudiri Kathakali
exponent,
in Bergamo. And at that point, for me, was a revelation, because I was at that point searching for a grammar of the body, expression through the body, and he, without all the entire makeup, just like this bare body, he was showing how every movement, every muscle, every has a name, every movement has a purpose, a meaning, and all these things. So immediately I went to him and said, I want to learn this grammar. This is what I'm searching for. And so he said, yes, many other young people during this tour, they asked me for that. So I have decided to do 3 months course in Kerala.
In Kerala.
It was January 78. And he said, from 1st of April of this year, 3 months Kerala things. At that point, Odissi was not in my horizon. So when
you did not even heard about Odissi?
No, at all. I only in my exam of Indian art, I had known about Konara. Okay, but that's all. Right. Nothing else. So when I went, 1st of April, this time I went directly by flight, reaching Bombay by train without stopping, and going to Palghat by bus, continuously, and I reached Kerala. Was so beautiful, I remember. And I reached Sri Krishnapuram exactly on the 1st of April at 10 o'clock. So there I did 3 months course. After 3 months, I performed with my green patch and Mukuta and the Kathakali. I did Purappadu and Nala Damayanti. I wanted to learn a little bit of the male role so that I could have the green. So then I asked Krishna Nambudiri, now is over. I said, this is so, I just discovered this. I can go back just like this as if nothing has happened. So he told me about, why don't you go to Odisha? And he had met Sanjuta Panigrahi abroad. That Sanjuta had already gone abroad, but not probably with Barba. She was traveling otherwise. So I came to know later on, he got fascinated by Odissi, Krishna Nambudiri. So that's why, but at that point he could have told me anything.
He could have told you about Bharatanatyam or Manipuri
or Bharatanatyam or Kuchipudi. For me, it was the same. Absolutely. So accident.
It's like, the providence was,
it was. So I was there with my boyfriend, with my second boyfriend. He was a musician. So both of us went to Hyderabad to extend our visa within 3 months, and Hyderabad and Madras and Coromandel to Odisha. So I went to Sanjuta Panigrahi.
That I did not know that you started learning Odissi from Sanjuta Panigrahi.
I was her first student. That Raghubaina told me later on, you were Sanjunani first student, because I didn't know that she was such a great performer.
She had great aura, she was the diva, and you did not have that.
Nothing, and she was very simple in her house and all this. She immediately tried to find a place. I remember Tankapani Road, but she was staying a little bit near Brahmeshwar. She found place for us to stay and all this thing. So and I was there in the Kerala style of lungi. So, like with the banyan. And in Kerala, they never ask us to change our. They're very open-minded. Although it was the first workshop with all these foreigners in the Sri Krishna Puram, but even then they didn't impose on us any uniform or anything. So hot meals for us, hot meals to wear the less dress. Yeah. So so I stayed for 2 months and I learned Batu and all these things from her. I remember that Bonu, at the time I did the bonus or also I come to record that the Batu in a slower version so that I could. Yeah. And then Nandita
Behra.
Vera. She came, she was staying just across the road, and after 2 months, I felt that she was very, I mean, she was not a teacher in a sense with all the patience, she didn't have that much of
Basically,
time.
she was a dancer
She was a
herself.
dancer, and so I sometimes I was feeling a little bit, and I was totally, I had 3 months, my feet were in this way for Kathakali, and suddenly I had to open it up like this for the Odissi. And so but anyway, she taught me. And that time, she didn't ask me for any money. So that letter is still with me. I gave a letter of introduction for Eugenia. But I don't know if it has been useful or not, but that letter is still, I thought because she was going to, again to Europe, and I had already met Barba and these people in my work in those months of workshop which I did with them. And she was going to Pontedera, and Pontedera was a place where all these things was happening, and Barba was very much in touch with that. So I thought, she's not asking me for anything. I can give this letter that is of introduction. But either it has been useful
Okay,
or not, I
it's
don't know.
समता आपण मानकर स्वर समता होची आपण मानकर निर्भीकता एवं स्वाधीनतार स्वर तेणु समता को लाइक करंतु शेयर करंतु अधिक अधिक सब्सक्राइब करंतु किछि आर्थिक सहयोग यदि करिवे आपण मेंबर भाव जॉइन करंतु सुपर चार्ट दियंतु सुपर थैंक्स दियंतु समता को बंचेक रखंतु समता आम स्वाधीनतार स्वर होकर बंचिक रहू तेणु समता सहित आपण सब बेले था।